All right, welcome to Coach a little early. I'm sure it's going to disappoint all y'all. Bob, go ahead and get started, please.
Okay, hey Eric, we were just talking about getting speeding tickets. I don't know if you've ever gotten any of those, but anyway, I've gotten a few. Well, hey, we just talked to Nick, and he said he's feeling pretty good. And just what have you seen from him? And I guess it's in his progression from having to sit out to limited practices to getting to play a little bit, now getting to play a lot and being pretty productive.
Yeah, no, I think Nick is progressing exactly how he hoped that he would. He's fully engaged in practice and pre-practice, post-practice, and I think he's getting more and more comfortable, with each game. Both scheme-wise and then also just from an individual standpoint as well.
Well, what is it you really like about what he's been able to do for you? Coming off the layoff?
Well, yeah, obviously the points come to mind right away, but he stretches out the defense because his ability to shoot, not only 3-point shots, but shoot them at a really high clip. He can, he's really good in transition. He's excellent at creating his own shot when plays break down. He's a really willing passer. He's got high basketball IQ. So all those things I think, make our team, much harder to defend and game plan against.
Yeah, he had 5 assists the other day. A lot of times when guys score like him, they're not real willing passers, as you put it. Well, what is it about his game or his personality or whatever that you think makes him a good assist guy as well?
What just winning is so important to him, number one. And then number two, I think he understands that, that you have to respect the defense, take what the defense gives you. I think all those things are part of, who he is as a basketball player, what his DNA is. And certainly those assists, they mean a lot to us because defenses are going to focus in on him and he's going to draw extra defenders when he's in isolation situations or pick and roll situations. So certainly not only your willingness to be a passer, but also your, feel for who to pass to and when to pass to becomes just as important.
And he seems like he's real emotional. I never saw him play in high school or maybe some of those all-star games, but he seems really emotional. What do you think about, I guess, the emotion he shows on the court and how that affects, how that maybe impacts his game, hopefully in a good way?
Yeah, no, I think he loves to get his teammates excited to play. He's vocal in timeouts. He's a guy that, some guys quietly go about stuff and then other guys are emotional spark plugs. And I think that, his energy, his emotional energy, I think that the whole team feeds off.
Okay, I got a couple more, but I'll turn it back to Mike. Thanks, Eric.
Scotty?
Yeah, Eric, I wanted to ask you about Devo. You mentioned his defense after the Oklahoma game the other day. There's been a few stretches or sequences, maybe the last 2 or 3 games, where it seems like he taps into this mode defensively where he makes it really difficult for the ball handler to even, I guess, put the ball on the floor. What is it in Devo that allows him to do that? And then what's it do for the team?
Well, he defensively attacks dribbles. And, so every time an opposition dribbles the ball, he seems to be attacking it, with his reach and stabbing at the basketball. And, he's just got like an incredible quickness, strength, and then reading the offensive player. But certainly, his defense has created big scoring runs for us just based on, when you have someone out on the ball, putting so much pressure, it kind of forces the other 4 teammates to play with the same defensive tenacity.
And then just from a defensive standpoint, does he remind you of anyone that you've coached in the past or just pretty unique?
I think he's really unique. I think, when you think about great defenders, I don't really like to compare players, but Gary Payton always had such an impact on games when he played as a defender. And I certainly think that Devo has a similar type impact, from a defensive standpoint where it creates offense for you. And I mean, we've had some really good defenders, Jimmy Witt and Jalen Tate and guys like that. But those guys were, they were really solid defenders. Devo has this, uniqueness to being able to really create havoc and disruption are two words that I would say that he's able to do from a defensive standpoint.
No, I think Mackay last week averaged a double-double, maybe 3 blocks, a couple of assists. Just what have you thought of the growth that maybe you've seen from him since the season started?
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable amount of growth. Both sides of the basketball. He's starting to run a lot more dribble handoffs than maybe, even 2 or 3 weeks ago. He's playing out of the elbow a little bit more. I think early on was used a little bit more of a screen setter. And now we're starting to play through him a little bit because of his decision-making. Obviously against Oklahoma, he made some great backdoor passes. But yeah, his defensive, being able to block shots, being able to be a help defender, and against Oklahoma, he was really good on the ball guarding his guy. I thought that they tried to go into Groves to start the second half, and I thought that Kai did a great job.
Hutch?
Yeah, Coach, curious what your impressions are of Bradley and kind of the challenges they present to you.
Yeah, Bradley's a really well coached team. Obviously 7-3 right now, and number 21 Dean at the point guard position's got great speed. He can really shoot the basketball. Hickman, another shooter at the off guard spot. Number 10, he's got deep range. He's a good basket cutter. Leon's number 14 can kind of play the 3-4 for him. A shot maker. 23 off the bench is a really, really good shooter, can really, really shoot the basketball. And then at the 4 spot, 35 Hannah, very athletic, left-handed. They'll run a fake dribble handoff where he'll keep the ball going to his left. Montgomery, a guy that can shoot it, number 3, and that is pretty athletic. And then Henry, a really good dribble driver. Their leading scorer has been out for a few games. We expect 22 Henry to play. And then 51 Mast, an all-league center. This is a really, really good basketball team that's extremely well coached. They have an excellent overall defensive scheme, game plan that they put together. And then they have quite a few shooters, especially at the 1 spot with Dean and Hickman at the 2 and Leon's at the 3. And then even Weathers coming off the bench, number 1, is a high volume free throw attempt player.
And then we didn't get to talk to Devo. I guess he had some exam stuff to finish up, but I'm curious if is there some extra motivation from him and Kamani and yourself? I mean, the way last year's game went down there to maybe rectify that a little bit this year.
Yeah, I think certainly, the guys from that area, like Devo and Nick, those guys are really excited probably to play in North Little Rock, and certainly Kamani, the staff, Devo, we'd like to play better than we did last year, but this has not been a 1-year, thing. I mean, if you look at our record in Little Rock, it's got to improve, and we've got to play better basketball than what we have of late. So maybe the change of time will help.
Curtis?
Coach, I know in the past you maybe haven't been as big of a fan of having a week off between games. Do you feel like it might come at a good time this year with, health and trying to make some of the adjustments without TB, or would you just assume get out there and play tonight?
Yeah, I'd rather play. I'm like the players. I'd rather play as much as possible. It's just a unique week when you're talking about finals and only playing 1 game, in 7 days. It's just kind of unique. Doesn't really happen much in college basketball. And then, we're trying to change up maybe some of the things that we have done in the past leading up to this game, because the schedule, obviously the last 2 years has been the game in Tulsa and then finals and then this game. So, we're going to leave a little bit earlier on Friday than we did in the past, get in about 4 or 5 hours earlier than we did last year. Obviously there's a game time change from 3:00 and instead of 7 and so hopefully it'll help.
And then you mentioned, I think after the Oklahoma game, that you guys went to some more isolation looks offensively. It seems like you have several guys who can kind of create their own offense or make an individual play. I guess as a coach, do you feel like that gives you more flexibility or freedom with how you can use your roster to create or exploit some different matchups?
Yeah, I think, any time that you have guys that can beat their own man and draw an extra defender, I think it helps. Thought we did a great job. The last game they went to zone and we got them out of that really quickly. We've worked on our zone attack. So, hopefully we're getting better.
And then the last thing for me, kind of a housekeeping thing on my end, this game, obviously it's a very pro Arkansas crowd, but is there clarification on whether or not this counts as a home game or a neutral site when it comes to the net rankings and all that?
Yeah, it's a home game. Not that I love that or agree with it, but it is considered a home game.
Thank you.
Bob?
Yeah, Eric, the crowds down there are always really good. The fans love seeing you guys. And of course, it's not on TV. So if you want to see the game, you got to get a ticket. But is there a part of you that like, hey, we need to deliver for these fans because they come out and they really support the team? And it's obviously not on you, but Arkansas is 12-10 in that building, and it's played some pretty good teams, and Bradley's a good team, but it just seems kind of mind-boggling, It defies logic, really.
Yeah, because it is, the Valpo game, because I was just talking with Hunter, literally 5 minutes ago, and we were talking about how loud when Adriel Bailey blocked that shot against Valpo, that's as loud as a building he or I have heard. It was, crowds have been great there. The enthusiasm's been great. When we go out to eat the night before the game, great environment, hotel, walking through the lobby, everybody's excited. Now we got to go play better.
And you said you're going to get down there several hours earlier. Like, what time you guys going to leave Fayetteville and get down there?
Well, we hope to leave around 11:15 in the morning, and go to the hotel. Then head over for an early afternoon practice, and then have a nice meal, have a couple film sessions, wake up the next morning, and get ready to play.
And a couple more things about Nick. He's averaging, ever since the 6-minute game, he's averaging 19, 7 in 3 games. And we know he's an elite scorer at all the levels, but is that realistic that he can keep scoring at a clip like that, even, as you get into SEC playing stuff, or is that maybe asking too much for even a guy as good as he is?
No, I think he's wired to be a scorer. He's, he's used to having defenses focus on him. He's shown that when teams send extra defenders at him, he's a willing and great passer. We can't control how defenses, what they try to take away or anything like that. Bradley, one of the best defensive teams in the nation. You're looking at the SEC. Mississippi State's one of the best defenses in the country. Alabama's playing great defense. Tennessee always plays great defense. So, we're as a team, we're going to be faced with some different defenses as we get into conference play, and even with Bradley. You look at their numbers defensively, and some nights, a game, the identity's a defensive, battle, and sometimes, a little more high scoring.
Is Bradley, do they play man, zone, mix it up? What do they do defensively?
They'll play predominantly man, but they do have a 3/4 court trap. They do have a 1-3-1. So, We could see 3/4 court at times. We could see a 1-3-1. We've done a really good job against a 1-3-1. Some of the teams in our league that have played that defense in the past, been really happy and pleased with how we have attacked the 1-3-1, whether it's Ole Miss or a couple other teams that have done that against us in non-conference over the last few years. So, but we have to be prepared for all three defenses: the 3/4, the 1-3-1, and then obviously the man.
And then getting back to Nick for a minute, how's his defense been, and just how do you think he's handled everything? Missing some games, restricted minutes, coming back, increasing his minutes, trying to get his win back. How do you think he's handled all that? How's he done on defense?
He's done great on defense. He's, continues to become a better team defender. He always, is a guy that takes pride on the ball defensively. And then, but, he's handled everything great. I'd probably say the one thing he was a little frustrated with was the minutes restriction in the first game that he was back. Probably the only time that he was a little frustrated. Other than that, I think he's handled everything a 10 out of 10.
So one more, when I think of Bradley, I think I've always thought the Missouri Valley's kind of been underrated. They always play good ball there for a mid-major conference, and Bradley's kind of that. To me, I always think of them being old school basketball. Just kind of what do you think of the Missouri Valley and Bradley in particular, just historically?
I mean, historically, Bradley, all the way back to Dick Versace and Mitchell J.J. Anderson, two guys that I had an opportunity to work with when I was with Memphis. Coach Versace was an executive there, and Mitchell J.J. Anderson, who's one of the best players that's ever played at Bradley, was on staff as well. That program for a lot of years has been really, really good. And this particular team, I think, is extremely well coached. They're very deep. They have shooting. They have a big center who can post up, a center who can make threes, an all-league center. And then, like I mentioned, Leones has really good size at the small forward spot. Hannah's a very, very good athlete at the power forward spot. So this is a team that we feel, can win their conference, which was one of the reasons that, we felt it important to try to schedule them, because they are a really good team. And like I said, very well coached, and they have experience as well.
Yeah, I think they won the Valley 2 of the last 3 years, I think. So just a little info there, a little FYI for you.
I got that. I got that in my notes.
Okay. I'm good. Thanks.
Anything else, Coach? All right, Coach.
Thanks.
Appreciate your
Appreciate
time.
it.